evening, 102 Squadron. I'm Flyco Polarb, and today I'll be teaching you how to iron your Air Cadet uniform properly. So first, we're just going to start with basic materials that you'll need. This is just basic. So your ironing board and your iron, of course. Then we'll move on to the thing that everyone should have, a towel or a bed sheet. So the reason why you would need a towel or bed sheet is if you look closely, you can see the honeycombing on the ironing board. So eventually, after ironing it enough times, it'll actually iron onto your uniform, which doesn't look very good. Then we'll go straight to our pressing cloth. So basically, a pressing cloth is just literally a piece of cotton. So you can use a pillowcase that's cotton, anything cotton really. So basically what it does is it protects your stuff from shining. So like your pants and your tunic, when they get heated too much or burned, they actually get really shiny. So that's basically what this prevents. Then you don't necessarily need this, but if you're, I'm not gonna say lazy, but if you don't want to iron as much, I suggest buying some spray starch. You can get it on Amazon, same with the pressing cloth. It just basically holds your creases for longer. So we're gonna move on to just some basic little tips. So as soon as you get your uniform out of the dryer or washer or whatever, you're gonna want to make sure you hang it up as soon as possible. That prevents it from wrinkling. And put it in this bag as well, because that prevents it from getting dusty. Make sure that you never ever leave your iron face down like this for any period of time unless you're ironing with it, especially in uniform, because then you're gonna walk in to supply and they're gonna be like, what happened? And then you're gonna be like, I burnt my pants, and then they're not gonna be very happy. So that's it. Always just, of course, watch your hand and the steam as well. That can get very hot and you can be burned by the steam. So we're gonna just start off with our tie because it's out already. So the tie is just pretty simple. Just go over it. Go over it a couple times. Boom. Done. So, just even though it's just a tie, hang it up so it doesn't wrinkle. Now, we're going to open my suit carrier thing. I'm going to hang that up as well. We're just going to start with the tunic. So the tunic, the reason why I start with the tunic is because it needs the least amount of work. All you really have to do for the tunic is the collar. So, just start with a little bit of spray starch. Pressing cloth for tunic because it's the same fabric as the pants and it'll get shiny. Make sure you're always doing the outside of the collar, not so the part that no one sees, not the part that everyone sees, so that, you know, if you do burn it, it's not a big deal. Nice and flat. And then how you do the only part, if you hang this up right away after doing anything with it, the only part that you really should be doing is the back here, because it's the belt. So you'll just put your pressing cloth down. You don't really need spray starch for this because you're not creasing it or keeping it nice and straight. Just going over it a couple times. Like I said, if you hang it up as soon as you're done with it, you really shouldn't need to do much with that. So make sure you fold back the collar before you hang it up. Before you move on to any piece, hang the previous piece up. We'll do blue shirt now. So, all you need to do with the blue shirt is simply, Alexa, stop. Sorry. So we're just gonna spray starch it. You don't need to use the pressing cloth for this because it doesn't get shiny. It does burn, however, so don't leave your iron on it. Just a couple times. Fold over. And then basically where you want the creases for this arm is right on this button. So then, what I like to do, take the buttonhole right there, fold it in half, and then kind of carry it along on the sleeve so you can kind of see like that. So that's how you know basically where your crease should be. pretty much just on that button, lined up with that button. I always go over it first like this so that the whole thing is straight and it's nice and pressed, and then I'll just focus really right there. Some water if you would like, I don't know. We'll move on to the next arm. So you can always go over these a couple more times, but I've already ironed today previously, so I don't need to go over them. Like usually I'll go over these 6-8 times. Okay, and then you're just going to do the same thing with the tunic for the back. Just fold it over like this. This allows you to just get the majority of the back, and it's nice and flat and open for you so you can see any wrinkles, of course. So just fold that back. Just go back and forth, back and forth. Watch your hands. So you may have to even just, you can't get the whole back, just move it over a little bit for both sides. Just go over this. Flip over. So remember, make sure you get this whole thing just back and forth. In between each button is important. Lift up that pocket flap. Get the whole pocket. Move back up again. Just do this. Make sure you have all your pins or name tags removed before the ironing. Same with your belts on your tunic and your pants. So you'll just take this flap, put it down, and then iron along that, just to make sure that the flap is even perfectly straight. Try to keep your collar down at all times. Go to the other side. So basically, just do the same thing. Just back and forth. Make sure it's nice and flat. Whole pocket. Up again. Take it by the flap. Set it down like that. Run your iron over it again. Steam every 2 to 3 seconds. Make sure you're applying that pressure. So now you're done with it. As soon as you're done with any item, just hang it up. Prevents wrinkles. Take the pants. So for the pants, you're going to want the pressing cloth. So before you iron your pants, you're going to want to make sure you pull out the pockets. This will prevent the outline of the pocket ending up being ironed onto the pants. On the front side, the crease is going to be down from the first belt loop. I don't know if mine's perfect there. Close enough. Just as close as you can get it to that belt loop. So, first thing you're going to do, just make sure it's nice and flat. Put your pressing cloth over it. Go over it a couple times here. Spray some spray starch. Don't need a lot, just a little bit, just to make sure you keep it. Go over it once more, just to get that spray starch actually in the pants, not on it. Now, I don't know if the camera can actually see it, but there is kind of a slight shine on all this. So the person before this, these pants obviously didn't have a pressing cloth, so it kind of made it shiny. So, the same thing again. I'll start from top, just first belt loop there. Make sure it's nice and flat. Go over it. Apply pressure. Steam every 2 to 3 seconds. You may have to refill your iron or even re-wet your pressing cloth. Nice sharp crease. Go to the back. The back crease should line up with the seam. It doesn't need to go back seam there. Doesn't need to go all the way up, but majority of the way, probably about 80-90% of the way all the way up. Make sure it's nice and flat before you actually iron, because if it's like this, the crease will end up there, not there. Put the pressing cloth over it, run over. Move it up if you have to. Next side, same exact thing. First belt loop for the front. I already have, and the thing is about ironing, the more you iron, it's same with boot shining. The more you iron or boot shine, the easier it becomes, because especially if you do it right the first time, you have that outline of where you really want to iron. And same with boot shining, say. Once you get that nice shine, even if you scuff it, the rest of that boot still has that nice shine. I know I'm talking about boot shining when we're supposed to be doing ironing, but same stuff basically. Make sure it's nice and flat all the way up. Apply that pressure, nice, lots of steam. Do it over a couple times. I've already done mine today, so no point in wasting the steam, the water. So anyways, just back. Oh, that's a crease right there. Not a crease, but a wrinkle. So good thing I'm doing it again. Back seam yet again right there. Go over it. Go over each thing for pant legs, each side 2 to 3 times. And then for the seam, not the seam, sorry, for the creases on the blue t-shirt, just do 8 to 6 times because they're small and they don't take a lot of work. So, we're going to do it right away. Make sure, well, you might do it a different way if you have a different hanger, but I have a special hanger. I'll show you right now. So basically this hanger has clips right here for your pants. So mine are a little stiff to get open, but that's why I always have to put them down here. Make sure these are nice and lined up. So hold it like that. So that so most things you'll just have to fold over. So it'll actually wrinkle in the center. This just keeps it nice and straight so it doesn't wrinkle and it just, gravity, I know. So, yeah. Just make sure the collar's folded over. Basically hang it how you want it to turn out. So if you're hanging it terribly, it's how it's gonna turn out. Hanging it with collars up. Collars, especially when you use the spray starch, it'll make it not stiff, but it'll make it want to stay up. Okay, so now we're just going to move on to how a basic way to just protect your uniform when you're traveling or even when you're not. So, just a suit bag, I guess. You can get this off Amazon, or you could probably get it at a suit store, not that you can really go out these days. So I always just put it over the shoulders and then work my way down on each side. So get the whole tunic in. And go to the other side and get the whole tunic in. And then kind of just pick up your pants, push them in there, pants are gonna probably try to get them as straight as you can, but they'll probably wrinkle near the waist area. But what can you do? This just allows for safe transportation, allows it from being wrinkled if you hang it properly, no dust, and yeah, just keep it safe. So, I'm Flight Corporal Arab. That was just basically how to correctly protect your uniform and correctly iron your uniform. Some little tips and tricks. Make sure you're not burning your uniform because supply, like I said, not very happy. Just stay safe, wash your hands, have a good evening.